Carles Puigdemont, the Catalan leader, making a statement in Barcelona, Spain, on Thursday. Samuel Aranda for the New York Times. Barcelona, Spain. After a chaotic day of wavering, Catalonia's separatist leader, Carles Puigdemont, announced on Thursday that he would place a decision on independence from Spain before the region's parliament. The move by Mr. Puigdemont virtually ensures that the central government in Madrid will take control of the restive region, using its emergency constitutional powers. Mr. Puigdemont made the announcement before a scheduled appearance before the Catalan Parliament on Thursday evening. He said he had made the decision after failing to secure a commitment from the central government that it would not take control of the region if he called early elections. There are none of the guarantees that justify convening elections today, Mr. Puigdemont said during a brief televised address from his government headquarters. I tried to obtain the guarantees, he said, but I didn't get a responsible answer from the Spanish government, which has instead used this option to add to the tension. He added it is now for Parliament to decide its answer to the application of Article 155 of the national constitution. The Catalan Parliament met later Thursday, and might vote on a declaration of independence on Friday, shortly after the Spanish Senate approves emergency measures to impose Madrid's direct rule on Catalonia. Last Saturday, Mariano Rajoy, the Prime Minister of Spain, announced that, using Article 155, he was preparing to take full control over Catalonia's administration and to replace Mr. Puigdemont, along with Catalonia's entire separatist leadership, in order to stop the region's secessionism in its tracks. An alliance of separatist parties has controlled the regional parliament since 2015, after winning elections, but with only 48% of the votes. Mr. Puigdemont leads a fragile coalition of separatist parties that control 72 of the 135 seats in the Catalan Parliament. The mounting pressures on both men were evident throughout a day of confusion in a crisis that has presented Spain with one of its gravest tests since embracing democracy in 1978. Mr. Puigdemont clearly hoped that a preemptive call for elections would hold off Madrid's intervention. Earlier on Thursday, the separatist leader scheduled, delayed and then finally cancelled the televised address in which he had been expected to take such a move. His delay was apparently designed to secure a firm pledge from Mr. Rajoy that Madrid would not impose the emergency measures, in return for Mr. Puigdemont's calling off a unilateral declaration of independence. But in the time leading up to Mr. Puigdemont's scheduled lunchtime news conference, with word leaking out of his expected move, separatists started gathering outside the Catalan government building to protest the prospect of a U-turn. Without a guarantee from Madrid, Mr. Puigdemont faced instead broadening dissent in his own ranks, with some members of his Conservative Party announcing that they would quit if the Catalan leader opted for new elections rather than secession. That raised the prospect of an internal revolt that could tear apart Mr. Puigdemont's independence movement. While Mr. Puigdemont was withdrawing his election offer, Soraya Sáenz de Santamaría, the Deputy Prime Minister, told senators in Madrid on Thursday afternoon, "We've got to rescue Catalonia under the emergency measures of Article 155. She defended it as the only way to force separatists to respect the rule of law. The Deputy Prime Minister accused Mr. Puigdemont of prolonging the conflict unnecessarily. Since last Saturday, nothing has happened, only noise and more noise, she said. Youth celebrated after Mr. Puigdemont's speech. Samuel Aranda for the New York Times. For more than 2 weeks, Mr. Puigdemont and Mr. Rajoy had engaged in a game of chicken over whether the Catalan leader was ready to secede unilaterally, following a confusing address to the Catalan Parliament on October 10 in which Mr. Puigdemont appeared to declare independence, only to suspend it a moment later. The pressures on both leaders have by now become formidable. Mr. Puigdemont risks decades in prison for rebellion should he push ahead with his secessionist plan. In Madrid, Mr. Rajoy has been under severe pressure from hardliners in his Conservative Party not to relent in the effort to snuff out the Catalan rebellion. On Thursday, Mr. Puigdemont did not address lawmakers at the start of the parliamentary session. Instead, he listened as politicians from both sides highlighted the deep divisions that surround secessionism in Catalonia. Ana Gabriel, a lawmaker from the far-left Popular Unity candidacy, told Catalan lawmakers that the government of Madrid was preparing a tsunami to take charge of Catalonia under Article 155, without democratic controls and legitimacy. Acute Arrimadas, the leader in Catalonia of the Ciudadanos party, which is fiercely opposed to secession, accused Mr. Puigdemont of extending an illegal and futile situation of uncertainty for Catalonia, while raising the expectations of separatists without any legitimacy. Even the trial of Kafka wasn't as Kafkaesque as Mr. Puigdemont's strive for independence, she told lawmakers. Addressing Mr. Puigdemont, she added, "If you had any legitimacy left to continue as president, you've lost it today. You've got nothing else to offer Catalans, not even to those who have been betting on independence." Ms. Arrimadas also attacked Mr. Puigdemont for his change of mind about holding early elections. Still, she added, "Sooner or later the ballot boxes will reach Catalonia, and we will win, because there is a majority of Catalans who is fed up with the independence drive." Mr. Puigdemont said he had failed to secure a commitment from the central government that it would not take control of the region if he called early elections. Samuel Aranda for the New York Times. Miquel Iceta, the socialist leader in Catalonia, told lawmakers that separatism hasn't made us go forward even 1 millimeter, either as a country or as a society. Even before Mr. Puigdemont's news conference, some were calling him a traitor. Gabriel Rufián, a Catalan separatist member of the Spanish Parliament, wrote 155 pieces of silver in a tweet, a reference to Judas' payment for portraying Jesus in the Bible. Mr. Puigdemont's government has been flouting Spain's constitution since early September, when separatist lawmakers voted on legislation to hold a binding referendum on independence on October 1 as a key step toward statehood. Last week, Mr. Puigdemont warned in a letter to Mr. Rajoy that Catalan lawmakers would vote for a declaration of independence if Mr. Rajoy imposed direct rule on the region. Mr. Rajoy's call for Article 155 measures, never used before, would allow him to impose direct rule and to take control of the autonomous region's police force and broadcaster. Last weekend, Mr. Rajoy pledged that Catalonia would hold new elections within 6 months of the introduction of his emergency measures. After the October 1 referendum, Mr. Puigdemont was under intense pressure to declare independence, since Catalans voted for secession in the highly controversial referendum, which was marred by clashes between the Spanish police and Catalan citizens. The vote, however, took place without legal guarantees and with most Catalan opponents of independence staying away in protest. The referendum was declared illegal by Spain's government and courts. This month, a judge from Spain's National Court ordered prison without bail for 2 leaders of the Catalan independence movement, pending a trial for sedition. Last weekend, Mr. Rajoy insisted that using Article 155 was neither our desire nor our intention, but instead the only way to return Catalonia to legality and normality and to maintain a Spanish economic recovery which is now under clear danger because of the capricious and unilateral decisions of the Catalan separatist government.